Om. 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 Sadashivasamārambhām Shankarācārya-madhyamām Asmadācārya-paryantām Vande Guru-paraṁparām. Om Pardhaya Pratibodhita Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashaadhyayini Ambatvam-anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita-tadgatena manasa Pashyanti yam yoginaha Yasyantam na vidussura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. So last class we have done till verse number 8. Yeah. Generally, the Sanjaya started observing the war and giving a report to the king, that is Dhritarashtra, because he asked at the fall of Bhishma. He asked for that, and Sanjaya started having that Divya Drishti, the divine vision, and was observing from the day one when the war started, because that is what Dhritarashtra asked him. How it came to that pass that a Maha Veera like Bhishma have fallen down. He couldn't believe that, and he asked for the report to be given to him. And Sanjaya, with that divine vision given by Vedavyasji, has started seeing and narrating what exactly happened at the war front. And he said, first he said that Raja Duryodhana, that Duryodhana saw the Pandavas' army and he went and spoke to Acharya, Acharya Upasangamya. So he spoke to Acharya and asked him as to, he started narrating kind of what he is seeing in front of his eyes. Yeah. So Acharya obviously is Dronacharya, who is the teacher, who taught both Pandavas and Kauravas the art of warfare. He actually looked at that particular this one. Now, when he saw that Pandavas army, immediately he started kind of telling Dronacharya that you are responsible for the army chief on the Pandava side, Drupada Putra. Drupada Putra, so he is talking to Dronacharya, that he is the one who actually trained that Drupada Putra, Drishtadyumna, and he is actually telling him kind of that you have trained him so well that he has become now the chief of army staff. And apart from that, we have seen that from 1.4 verse till 1.6, he kind of names a few of the warriors who are there on the Pandava side. So he starts with, and they're all equal to Bhima and Arjuna, he says, in terms of Samayuti. In the art of warfare, they are almost equivalent to them. He starts with Yuyudhana. Yuyudhana is another name for a warrior from Krishna's army, Narayani Sena, who actually still fought with the Pandavas, and his name is Satyaki. So Yuyudhana is Satyaki, and Virata Raja, who again is fighting on the behalf of Pandavas, and Drupada. Drupada Putrena is already told in verse 3. So he says Drupada also is a Maharadha. Maharadha, we have already seen. Maharadhi is someone who can actually fight with more than 10,000 warriors on the other side. Single-handedly, he can fight such a huge army. And in the verse 5, he says, Drishtaketus Chekitanaha. This Chekitana is the only warrior who was killed by Duryodhana later in the war. And it's interesting that he names him. And Drishtaketu, Kashi Raja. Kashi Raja is not a title, but he is king of the Kashi. And Purujit Kunti Bhojascha. Kunti is Kunti Bhoja, and Purujit, some say they are brothers, some say they are actually father and son. Saibhyascha Narapungavaha. So he has named a few warriors who are there. I mentioned to you that it's very interesting that all these warriors are some people who have been killed by Drona later on. So it's as if Duryodhana is identifying whom all he should take care of in the war. So Drishtaketu, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, Saibhya, Drupada, Virat, every one of them actually is killed by Dronacharya later in the war. Yeah, when he becomes the chief of army of the Kaurav Sena, he does that. And it's interesting again with 1.6, Yudhamanyu, Yudhamanyuscha Vikrantaha, Uttamaujascha Viryavan. Yudhamanyu, Uttamauja, and Saubhadra. Saubhadra is Abhimanyu, that is king of, son of Subhadra, is Saubhadra, is Abhimanyu, and Draupadeyascha. All the 5 sons of Draupadi from the 5 Pandavas, Sarva Eva Maharadha. All these people are great warriors. We have seen that, yeah. So all these aspects, it's interesting again, 1.6, all of them, whomever are named here, are killed by Drona's son. Yeah, he is the one actually who took care of all these others. So Ashwadhama killed all these many so-called warriors named in verse 6. Maybe it is just a coincidence that he has done that, or maybe he has actually kind of named who all should be done. But unfortunately, 1.6, whoever is named there, they were not killed when the war was going on. They were all killed on the 18th day after the fall of the king here. Yeah. So and that too in the night time when dharma doesn't allow, that is the time when Ashwadhama kills all these warriors who are named in verse 6, except for Abhimanyu, who got killed again in a very adharmic way. All of them put together, they killed this particular person. So, and then he says, okay, now that I have named all the people on the other side, in the verse 8, he says that, verse 7, he says that, okay, let us see who all are there in our side. And he names a few of the warriors on the Kaurava side. Bhavan is yourself. Bhishmascha, Karnascha, Krupascha, Samitinjaya. Samitinjaya is not a name. It is one who is never lost a war in the, is called Samitinjaya. And that he says is the Krupa. And it happens, Krupa is one of the persons who did not die in the war. Yeah. Ashwadhama again did not die in the war. Vikarna is an interesting character. He is the only Kaurava who actually opposed when Draupadi was, she was brought to the Sabha, and the Duryodhana and Dushyasana tried to take out her clothes and other stuff. So Krishna actually kind of saves her, but that's a different this one. That is Vikarna. And Somadattascha Sadacha. Somadatta is the son of Somadatta, who is Bhurishravas. His name was Bhurishravas, and he was killed by that Satyaki, who was named first in the verse 4. So anyway, so that is how some few names are taken from the Kaurava side also in this particular one. Okay. All right. Now we will read the verse 9 and move forward. Okay. Anye cha bahava shuraha madardhe tyakta jivitaha nana shastra praharanaha sarve yuddha visharadaha. So, Anyecha Bahava Shuraha. There are many other warriors or heroes who are now fighting on behalf of the Kauravas. So he says, Anyecha Bahava Shuraha. Many others, Shuraha, valiant people, warriors, heroes, you can say that. And he uses a very, very interesting word here, says Tyakta Jivitaha. Tyakta Jivitaha, some of the texts convert that, translate that as who are ready to give up their lives. So anybody who has come to the war, they are ready to give their lives. That is how the war works. Yeah, you don't know from who will die, who will live. You can never know once you are there in front of the other warrior. Tyakta Jivitaha, many of the texts also translate that as those who have renounced their life for me. Means already they are dead. That is how he is telling. Already they renounced their life. Some people say that renounce their life doesn't mean he is already telling everybody dead. He is only telling that they are ready to give up their lives. Interesting that many of the warriors he named before, they did not die in the war, but they have died after the war was kind of officially over. Yeah. And he's telling Chekta Jivitaha. And this particular word is, as I told you, can be translated as those who have renounced their life for me. Yeah. For my sake. And all of them have many weapons. Madarthe, for my sake, all of them, sarve, and nana shastra praharanaha, have many weapons and missiles. See, in this particular term, there are many terms that are used for weapons. One of the word is called astra. Astra is something which normally is not leaving the hand of the warrior when they go for a fight, like a sword or a club kind of a thing. You actually do this particular fighting where the weapon does not leave the warrior. Okay, so that is actually called shastra. Astra or praharana is something which is thrown from a distance at the warriors on the other side. So Nana Shastra Praharanaha, so many weapons as well as missiles. Missiles are something which you throw from a distance, yeah, onto the other persons. So some of them, these praharana can or astras can also be done with using mantras, yeah, that we have seen in Ramayana and Mahabharata, etc., where a mantra is used. Rama, in fact, in one of the stories where Sita ji tells, he actually uses a blade of grass, by using a mantra, converts into Brahmastra and throws it onto the crow. Kakasura Vadha, it is not dead, but Kakasura Vrittantam it is called in Ramayanam, because that crow was irritating Masita. More than irritating, it was attacking her. So he uses a blade of grass, uses a mantra, it becomes a astra, Brahmastra, and it is thrown on them. So that is what the difference between Shastra, Astra, Shastra and Praharana, Astra and Praharana, more or less the same. Okay. And Yuddha Visharadaha, they're all experts in the world, in the warfare. They have been trained, and they're all experts in the warfare. So all these people, they are now in front of Duryodhana and Drona, in front of Pandavas, and they are ready to fight the war. And they have already kind of given up their lives and they have joined me, my army, he says. And then a very, very interesting verse comes from Duryodhana point of view, which shows his mindset. Yeah. The verse 10, we will read. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidame tesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. So he says tat therefore, he now concluding, because he has summed up the Pandava army and he is now summed up the Kaurava army. But see his mindset, how he is arriving at the summary of this. He says, therefore, asmakam balam, asmakam mine. Balam is army. Strength, actually, balam is strength. Here in this particular case, asmakam balam is my army. Bhishma bhirakshitam. Now it is being protected by somebody who is as great as Bhishma. Now Bhishma is the eldest warrior. Kuruvrudha, it comes later. He is the Kuruvrudha. Not only that, he is the warrior who has never been defeated in any war. Wherever he goes, he has got that particular boon that he never gets defeated. And asmakam balam, my army, Bhishma bhirakshitam, protected by the Bhishma, aparyaptam. Very interestingly, he says, despite being protected by such a great warrior like Bhishma, it is insufficient. Insufficient for what? To defeat the Pandava army. That is his conclusion. See with what mindset a person who is leading Kaurava army is now going into the war with. He says, aparyaptam. It is not sufficient. However, on the other hand, idam balam, this army, etesham, of these, means this particular Pandava army, he is now referring to etesham, Pandava army. These army were there, Bhima bhirakshitam. Although it is being protected by Bhima, who is definitely a much lower category warrior compared to the Bhishma, yeah, paryaptam is more than sufficient. For what? Obviously, we have to supply that particular word, that more than sufficient to defeat us. So he is already concluded that despite my army, which is led by such a great warrior as the Bhishma, is aparyaptam, is not sufficient, and that particular army, other army, which is being led by Bhima bhirakshitam, protected by the Bhima, is paryaptam to defeat us. Now, with this particular mindset, actually, he is going into the war. Why this is not correct, what his assessment is not correct is, Kauravas, when they started the war, had 11 Akshaunis compared to the Pandavas who had only 7 Akshauni. Akshauni is the strength of one particular army unit who all are there. Yeah. Now, Akshoni, there are lots of lots of definitions as to what makes up an Akshauni. Yeah. Some people say that the 11 Akshaunis refers to roughly 2.5 million people, and 7 Akshaunis work out to 1.5 million. Now, I don't know what is the basis for all that. Maybe some other texts are there which gives this particular aspect. Some people say that one Akshauni will have roughly 20,000 chariots, 20,000 elephants, and 65,000 horses, and some 1 lakh of foot soldiers, etc., etc. So it's a huge number that we are talking about. And Kauravas definitely had much, much larger army compared to the Pandavas, who had only 7 Akshaunis. And apart from this, the type of warriors they have, Karna, Drona, Bhishma, Ashwadhama, Duryodhana himself, Dusyasana, so many warriors are there who are great, great warriors. But despite that, he is going with a lack of confidence and lack of, he is going with insecurity in his mind. That I don't think, despite this, it is good enough or sufficient enough for for us to win this war. That particular thing is actually there in the back of his head. So he says, my army led by or supported by or protected by Bhishmacharya is aparyapta, not good enough, not for good enough to especially defeat the Pandava army. Although their numbers are less, it is protected by the Lord Krishna. I think somewhere down the line, he had that in his mind. Somewhere he is thinking that it is not possible for, as long as Krishna is there on the other side, maybe he is regretting the fact that he missed Krishna's support when he and Arjuna went for asking for Krishna's help. So that is where I think that particular thing is there, must be there in his mind, that Krishna brings in dharma. Wherever the spiritual dharma is there, victory is kind of assured to the particular this one. Even I think Bhishma also recognizes, realizes that as long as Krishna is there, winning is given as far as Pandava is concerned. And very likely Duryodhana also has that at the back of his mind, although he doesn't say in so many words. So that invisible strength of Ishvara, Anugraha, that grace of the Lord which is there behind, and that is why Duryodhana, he says that although despite Bhishma here and so many warriors, I think it is aparyapta, not good enough to win the war against the Pandavas. Yeah. So that is what seems to be this one. Anyway, so in verse 11, we will go to verse 11 now. Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yada bhagamavastitaha bhishmamevabhirakshantu bhavanta sarva eva hi. So now he is giving a diktat to Drona and whoever is listening around. Yeah, it's not that only he is addressing Drona. He is actually addressing everyone who is around that. He is telling Avastita. Avastita, Sthita is stationing. Avastita, well stationed at different places. Yeah. Sarveshu Ayaneshu. Ayaneshu is a word that is used for, a particular formation that army as a strategy deploys in the war. In recently, we have seen that in the movie Bahubali, they have this Trishul kind of a formation. You have the bird's eye view of the army. Each army is now set up in a specific pattern for giving the strategic advantage for the army to attack the other army and kill maximum number of people. So this is the Ayaneshu. So all the entry points you can say of that particular this one. Yada bhagam, as allocated, sarve bhavantaha, all of you, remember all of you now, indeed, abhirakshantu, should closely protect whom? Bhishma eva, Bhishma alone, Bhishma evam. Alone, Bhishma should be protected at all costs. So whatever you are putting that the Ayaneshu, you require to protect Bhishma from all entries. So from his from left, right, center, and front, wherever Bhishma is there, he should be protected. Is a diktat that Duryodhana is giving to all the people there. Stationed at all points of entry as allocated, all of you indeed should closely protect Bhishma alone. He is the only one who should be protected because he knows as long as Bhishma is there, the victory is assured. Despite Krishna being on the other side, the only way they can win the war is as long as Bhishma is protected and fighting the war. And it happened also. Up to 10th day, it was almost impossible to win even a single battle within the war, whatever is happening on daily basis. And Bhishma was killing in thousands every day, the Pandavas army, the other side which is there. And finally, on the 10th day, ninth day, and they go to Bhishma himself. Arjuna goes and requests that, tell me how I can kill you, because otherwise it's not possible for me to kill you. And Bhishma kind of gives up his secret to say that I will not fight somebody who is not a man or a woman. So accordingly, they bring Shikhandi, places in front of Arjuna, and Bhishma kind of gives permission to take him down. So with his permission, he goes, and that is where Bhishma comes up to with a thing like, as long as Krishna is there, the victory should be on the Krishna's side. He cannot lose. I am okay. My time is over. I am already a Kuru Vriddha, so I can go down. So you can take me down. He offers that particular thing to Arjuna. So he says that particular Bhishma. But anyway, here Duryodhana is telling that every one of you must protect Bhishma. As long as Bhishma is there, the victory is kind of assured for us. So all of you protect. Then what happens is 1.1 to 12. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuruvruddha pitamaha simhanadham vinodyoschaihi shankham dadmau pratapavan. So now whatever Duryodhana Uvacha is over. Till now, although he didn't say Duryodhana Uvacha, from verse 3 till verse 11, it was Duryodhana who was talking. Yeah, so we have to supply that. And now again, Sanjaya is taking over. Yeah, Sanjaya Uvacha is there here from verse 12. So verse 12, he says, Sanjayan means not this Sanjaya who is telling the story. Sanjayan means one who generates. Jana is generating, Sanjaya generating very loudly or wonderfully. Harshatasya, enthusiasm in him. So Bhishmacharya has noticed that Duryodhana is slowly degenerating into a delusion. He already told that our army is not sufficient, etc., etc. And he recognized that he is now worried, a very, very worried king who is going into a war. In order to enthuse him into the action, he says, Pratapavan, that powerful Pitamaha Kuruvruddha. Pratapavan Pitamaha Kuruvruddha. That is how Bhishma is being described as. Pratapavan, very, very powerful. That powerful Pitamaha, that great-great-grandfather, and Kuru Vruddha, the oldest among the Kuru. Kurus are the Duryodhana and others. All family is actually Kuru dynasty, this is. So in order to encourage the Duryodhana, the Bhishma Pitamaha, Vinadhya Uchchaihi, he sounded aloud, he shouted. Simhanadam, like a lion's roar. He shouted, there is this one. And he, Shankham, Dadmau, Shankham, he blew his conch. So in those days, every warrior used to have their own conch where they used to sound. At the start of the war, somebody will have to say that, okay, now the war has started, let us now attack each other. And who else can do that when Bhishma Pitamaha is there in the war? He is the oldest of the Kuru, most powerful. So he started the sounding his conch. And when person like Bhishma started that particular this one, that means he has Pratapavan Sankyam Dadmau. Battle has already begun at that particular time. Yeah. So everybody is now preparing as to how we should start this particular war is how they are talking about. Yeah. Verse 13, it actually talks about who else did the similar preparations for the war to start. Tata shankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukhaha. Tata shankascha bheryascha panavanaka gomukhaha. Sahasaivaabhyahanyanta sashabdastumulo bhavat. Sahasaivaabhyahanyanta sashabdastumulo bhavat. So the moment Bhishmacharya started the sounding this one, Tataha, thereafter, yeah, Shankascha, other conches, Bheryascha, means there are some drums people are using. So generally, everybody started making the sound. Panavaka Gomukhaha. Panavaka, that trumpets like drums are there, horns are there. Everybody started sounding their own equipment. Yeah. Sahasa eva, where immediately Abhyahantan sounded forth. Sashabdaha, that noise. Abhavat tumulaha. It became very I think the correct word in English is cacophony. So there is no rhythm to which the sounds of Kauravas they are making. Everybody started a huge sound from their own side. So it will be some drums are there, trumpets are there, horns are there, some conches are there. Everybody started making huge sound from the army of the Kauravas. Now, once that is over, Pandavas will start now their side. Yeah, so he will say that how Pandavas reacted to the call of war, start of the war from Kauravas. Yeah. Tata Shvetairhayukte Tata Shvetairhayukte Mahati Syandane Stitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shankau Pradadmaduhu Tata Shvetairhayukte Mahati Syandane Stitau Madhava Pandavaschaiva Divyau Shankau Pradadmatuhu. So here, now the Pandava side is being described by Sanjaya. Yeah. So he says, thereafter, Krishna and Arjuna. Where did it say Krishna and Arjuna? He used the word Madhavaha Pandavaschaiva. So here the Pandava is the Arjuna. Pandava it can be any of the five brothers. Yeah, it can be any of the five brothers. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva, all are Pandavas, basically. But here, obviously, he is talking about Krishna, and Krishna is on the same chariot with Arjuna. So here, when Pandavas Chaiva is the Arjuna, and the Krishna is the Madhava. Madhava is a very interesting term that he uses here in this particular verse. He says, Madhava Pandavas Chaiva. Mahadhava. Maha is the mother. Mother can be Lakshmi, which is the mother of wealth, and Krishna, who is nothing but avatar of Vishnu, is the husband of that mother who is there. Yeah, that is one way of looking at it. But mother can be any of the other this ones we can take. Yeah, and here Madhava is normally taken as the husband of the wealth giver. The wealth is here actually the wealth of knowledge, not wealth of money that we are talking about. The wealth of knowledge is being referred to as the Madhava, one who is got the wealth of the knowledge, because we are going to get Gita from knowledge of Gita from Krishna moving forward. So here to start with, he addresses the Krishna as Madhava. Madhava Pandavaschaiva. And they have actually started the started the blowing their own conches. Yeah, we will see in the next few verses actually who all started making the similar sounds of start of the war that we are talking about. Yeah, and interestingly, tata shvetarhai yuktaihi mahatis chandane sthitau. He says that now he also describes the chariot of Arjuna and Krishna. He says this chariot of Arjuna is being driven by Krishna, obviously, but it is being taken by four white horses. Now, this white thing is normally referred to as the knowledge related. Yeah. And when we talk about the Gita, obviously, as I mentioned, the knowledge becomes a very important aspect. And the chariot example has been taken in our Shastras even before. It's interesting that at the very beginning, Sanjaya started describing the chariot of Arjuna and Krishna. In, for example, in Kathopanishad, you have this example of chariot describing the body of the human being is taken as the chariot. And the sense organs are the horses, and the mind is nothing but the reins with which the horses are controlled. Yeah. So this particular vision is there in our Shastras even before Bhagavad Gita. So it's interesting that Sanjaya starts the discussion with again describing the chariot on which the Krishna and Arjuna are sitting and about to blow their own conches is how is being seen there. Yeah. One doubt might come that if the horses are the senses, many of you may be knowing that particular this one, but the horses that are there on our famous photographs, there are only 4 of them, not 5 senses, because we normally say we have 5 senses, yeah, but there are only 4 horses. What they say is the tvak, the touch, and the taste, which is the tongue. They are more or less one and the same, because unless something touches your tongue, the taste is not known. So the tvak and the tvak means skin, yeah, the touch and the taste, the organ that makes it happen is the tongue. It is representative of that. So there are only 4 horses, not represented by the 5 horses. Yeah. So Vyasacharya here is describing the Shvetairhai Yuktaihi Mahatis Chandane Sthita. So that is how the 4 horses and the Krishnas, this one is being described. Yeah. Interestingly, there is one more example of chariot being used is in Ramayana. In Ramayana also there is an example of a chariot, and our Swami Swarupananda ji has come out with Vibhishana Gita, taking a few verses from the Ramayana describing the chariot similar as a Gita. The message that it gives is called Vibhishana Gita, that is there in terms of this particular this one. Okay. Okay. So now the 15th verse we will go through. 15th verse describes as to what types of conches the Pandavas are going to blow. Yeah. Panchajanyam Hrishikeshah Devadattam Dhananjayah Praudham Dadmau Mahashankham Bhimakarma Vrukodaraha. So now Hrishikesha, he is using the word Hrishikesha to address Krishna. So Madhava was in verse 14. Now verse 15, he talks about Hrishikesha. Hrishik Isha, that the word Hrishikesha is split into Hrishik, Ishaha. Hrishik means the senses. Ishaha is the Lord. The Lord of the senses is how it is being used. So now you can link it to the chariot example, which I mentioned, and the mind that controls the senses. Now, Krishna, being the charioteer of that particular chariot, becomes the controller of the senses. So he is being addressed now as Rishikesha. And what conch he has? He has something called Panchajanyam. Panchajanyam is the name of that particular conch which Krishna blew is the Panchajanyam. There are some stories associated with what is this Panchajanyam, etc. Actually, he kills one Asura, one Rakshasa he kills, and the Rakshasa himself turns into the conch which is given and is called Panchajanyam. I won't go into the details, but there are some associated stories with each of these. Yeah. And Devadattam Dhananjaya. See, these words that the names that are used to address the warriors is very, very interesting. As I am trying to give that this one, he says Dhananjaya. Now, the reason why Vyasacharya uses Dhananjaya for addressing Arjuna. Dhananjaya has started sounding Devadattam. The Devadatta conch is the conch named Devadattam. He is actually started sounding, and his name is Dhananjaya. Arjuna has conducted many, many wars before. He has killed many, many people before. It's not as if he is new to the warfare. Yeah. He is known for accumulator of the wealth for the king Yudhishthira. Okay, so Yudhishthira, when they were driven out by Duryodhana and others, it is Arjuna and Bhima who went to different directions and accumulated wealth on behalf of the Yudhishthira. And Arjuna is the main person responsible for defeating many kings. Now he is being used here as Dhananjaya addressed him because he is kind of telling, despite such a background, when it comes to fighting with his own relatives, it becomes very difficult. It is like, a doctor who is asked to perform a surgery on his own children or her own children finds it very difficult, while the same doctor is known for being a very, very good surgeon when he operates on others. Similarly here, Dhananjaya is the word that Vyasacharya is using, but at the same time, he is also known for killing many, many people before. Yeah, is it to indicate that he is used the word Dhananjaya here. Praudham Dadmau Mahashankam. Praudam Dadmau. Praudam Dadmam is Devadattam is the Arjuna blew, the Devadatta. Devadattam is the conch of Arjuna, which is there. And Bhima, which is Vrukodara, Bhima karma of terrible deeds. Mahashankam, Poundram. Mahashankam, Poundram, they should be added together. So the name of the conch for the Bhima is Poundram. And this Bhima is being referred to as Vrukodara. Vrukodara, the definition of Vrukodara is one with stomach as that of the wolf. Udara is the stomach. Vrukodara, stomach of the wolf. Yeah. Now, the stomach of the wolf is why they are talking about. Bhima is known to eat lot of food, yeah. But despite eating so much, he has got a six-pack stomach. So he is named as Rukodara, similar to the wolf. Wolf also eats whatever or how much amount of food that he eats, its uh, stomach remains within. It doesn't come out. That is how the Rukodara name is given to Bhima. So Bhima Karma Rukodaraha Mahashankam Poundram. So Poundra is the name of the Shankha. He is a Mahashankha. Obviously, Bhima is very big and his Shankam is also a very huge one. So Mahashankam Poundram Bhima Karma Rukodaraha. Bhima started sounding his big couch, which is the pound drum. Okay, now we can actually see when Bhishma was sounding his conch, all others are doing different this ones. He didn't name the specific conches, but Vyasacharya here started naming each one of them. What all conches each one of these Pandavas have, etc. We'll do one more and we'll stop here because my voice somehow seems to be giving up. Yeah. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha Nakula Sahadevascha Sughoshamani Pushpakau. So now Kunti Putra Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the eldest brother of Pandavas. His conch is Ananta Vijayam. So Raja Yudhishthira, who is the Kunti Putra, the eldest son of Kunti, his conch is Ananta Vijayam. So Yudhishthira, actually the name Yudhishthira means one who can stay stable in the war. Yudhi is the war, Sthiraha is the stableness. So one who never runs away from the war. That is what Yudhishthira means. And that Yudhishthira, his conch is named as Ananta Vijayam, always victorious. Ever victorious is his conch. Now he is sounding that, and Nakula and Sahadeva, they started sounding the conches of Sughosha and Manipushpaka, respectively. So Nakula has got Sughosha and Sahadeva has got Manipushpaka. Very, very beautiful names for the conches. And all these people started blowing them from Pandava's side to start the war. There are others which are following, but we will take it up in the next class. Okay. We will stop a little early today. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ